everyone. Welcome to the Northern Kentucky Spotlight Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Brookbank, and I am joined by our co-host, Nancy Spivey. Nancy, welcome to the new and improved intro of the podcast.
I'm so excited to be here and to be here with you and not separate from you. So
I know. It's usually I'm sitting here filming your interviews. We're kind of mixing it up today. We're trying something new because I really wanted to take a moment and talk about talent strategies here at the Northern Kentucky Chamber. You're going to have an interview later on in the podcast with David Noe about DisruptHR. I'm not going to tease that too much.
Yes.
And before we get into the conversation, I want to thank our podcast sponsors. The Northern Kentucky Spotlight Podcast is powered by C-Crew, Google and Amazon advertising experts, and sponsored by Schneller-Knockelman. We want to thank them. They make this a podcast possible every single week. We really appreciate their support. But back to talent strategies, back to you, Nancy. You stay busy. You had an event just yesterday.
Yes.
We had the HR Trifecta. Tell me how it went.
So HR Trifecta, just for those who don't know, it's a strategic leadership conference. So a little higher level, a little more in-depth. HRCI, which is a certification. We were able to get our 3 speakers approved for credits, for strategic business credits, which is something highly sought after if you're an HR professional. And then they also got SHRM credits for those events. But we had 109, I think, were the total number of attendees. So I think it was our largest event yet for HR Trifecta. We do the event in partnership with Northern Kentucky SHRM. So again, it was a great activity. We had 3 dynamic speakers. The first one was Amy Goodson. She's with the Kentucky Manufacturing Extension Partnership at the University of Louisville. Her topic was From Burnout to Buy-In, Cultivating a Culture that Develops and Retains Top Talent, a long title. And then we heard from Dr. Merle Heckman of Dale Carnegie. He was a great speaker, very engaging, talking about why people work. And hint, it's more than the moolah. So then finally we heard from a woman, her name is Casey Webster. She founded a company called My HR Extension, which is like a gamification, to turning your training into a gamification model. So again, very unique and an opportunity for HR professionals to not do things the way they've always done.
Yeah, and you mentioned Merle Heckman was a really engaging speaker. We had him on the podcast many moons ago, and I agree, he is really engaging. What was your biggest takeaway from the HR Trifecta this year?
Well, I think more than anything, we kept hearing doing nothing is doing nothing. So basically, you have to take action. If you want people to be motivated, you need to give them the tools and resources to get them motivated. If you want to reward behavior, you need to reward behavior. If you need to, on the other side, make sure people are aware when they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing. So not doing that is doing a disservice to your whole organization and productivity.
Yeah, and we talk so much about talent, and retention is a huge, huge thing right now.
Yes.
And I know we have a couple events coming up in 2026, crazy that we're talking 2026, that really kind of lean into some of that. One of the things that we have our first event in the talent strategy space at the Chamber, January 7th, we have a webinar, Winning Talent in 2026. Tell me a little bit about that event, what kind of things people can expect from that.
I'll tell you, we are hearing from a lot of employers, a lot of our members are saying, we just can't figure out how we're going to do salary increases this year. Cost of business has gone up tremendously. The cost of healthcare has gone up. There's a lot of number of factors that are contributing. The cost of doing business has really gone up. So we're bringing in a gentleman, his name is Sean Lujanes, and he's with salary.com, and he's kind of a national expert when it comes to how do you do total rewards? How do you take your high performers and reward them one way, and how do you keep and retain talent that you want to keep? How do you divide and conquer where necessary, right?
Yeah.
And then Dan Cahill, he's our local data expert. He's with HSD Metrics, and he's going to talk about what's going on with survey results that they're seeing. What's the data showing as far as what do people expect? If you can't give salary increases, but you can give more flexible time off or other benefits, is that enough to keep people happy in this downturn?
Yeah, and you mentioned the cost of business is going up. We know that the cost of living is going up too.
Yes.
So employers are really in a hard spot right now when they're trying to figure out what some of those best practices are. And that's another leeway. In March, early March, we have the Best Practices Symposium. That's one of our big talent strategies event this year. I know you can't spoil what the speakers are going to be. I know you guys are working on those speakers right now. But tell me some of the topics that you think are going to be up at the top line of that event in March.
So I'll tell you that the theme this year is future-focused workforce. So again, talking about not doing things the way you've always done them. There's got to be a way that you can think differently. And when you're thinking about cultural fit, when you're thinking about how to make sure that you're providing career progression for people when they're coming into your organization, how do you make sure people feel valued and reward them for good work? So I won't spoil it, but we will have a dynamic group of roundtable facilitators. That event's very different, very lively and engaging because we break people into breakout rooms and then they get an opportunity to be in a roundtable to help us, work together on topics. So really excited about the topics and speakers that we will announce soon. We've had a planning committee that just selected our roundtable facilitators, and I need to let them know before I let the audience know.
Yeah, so stay tuned to our social media channels for that. That one, such a great event every year. I know, like I said, that's one of our big ones. You mentioned it's dynamic. It's a little bit different. Like I said, you are talking with David Noe later on the podcast about DisruptHR. That's a new one. It's going to be our first ever one. I listened to the conversation that you just had with David. You both seem so excited about it. So tell us a little, don't spoil it because you have an interview coming up, but tell us a little bit about this event.
Yeah, DisruptHR is a national initiative, basically, that was founded right here in Cincinnati 12 years ago by a woman and a couple of other of her key HR colleagues. They wanted to do something different in the HR space. They wanted to educate HR professionals, but do it in a different format. So you think back 12 years ago, TED Talks were all the rage. Yeah. And so this is more like a TED Talk, but mixed in with a social hour and really lively and engagement. So we applied for a license, and happy to say Northern Kentucky is going to host a DisruptHR.
Yeah, so stay tuned for more on that conversation, how people can get involved to speak at that event. That's a good one. And we've talked a lot about events. Obviously, here at the Chamber, events are kind of our bread and butter when it comes to a lot of this. But one of the things I did want to talk with you about, employers, like you mentioned, kind of struggling. It's kind of hard to financial times. There's a lot going on. We have a lot of resources outside of events for employers, for people working in HR. How can people tap into the resources we have here at the Chamber?
So, especially in the talent strategy space, I always tell people the event side is great. I love doing that. I love the engagement with my HR colleagues and others that are, in that workforce space. But really, a lot of what we do is individual calls. Some employer will call. I had one earlier today saying, hey, I really want to go out to all the career fairs, but I don't know where to go to find those. Yeah. So we have resources that, we send out a monthly newsletter that lists all the career fairs in the region. And so, just being able to provide resources or connect the dots. There's so much going on in our region, and there's a lot of great support systems out there, but it's being able to kind of tap all of those. We also have on our website a talent resources page that people can go. Say they want to hire an intern or they want to know about wage data. All of that information is available, and links to resources are available on our website.
Yeah, that's a great resource like you mentioned. And Nancy, it's been a while since I interviewed you on the podcast, but is there anything else you think people, chamber members, really need to know about the work that you're doing, the things going on in this talent strategy space right now?
I think more than anything, I just want to stress that chamber members pay their dues. They pay an annual membership, and for that membership, we have a variety of services. And so a lot of times, I think especially the smaller employers don't realize, like, I can't make it to all these events. Yeah. Well, we have a whole nother side of that. I like to say I'm your extended staff. If you need help navigating or need help just finding the resources to help you do your job better, we're a phone call away.
Yeah, we make it really easy, and we're located in 2 different spots now since our expansion into Covington. Well, Nancy, thank you for joining me in this intro and for that brief interview. For our listeners and viewers, stay tuned. You're going to hear from our sponsors, meet our members of the week, and then Nancy's going to have a conversation about DisruptHR.
Yep.
Ranking on Google Search and Maps is easy to understand, but hard to do. It requires constant effort and attention. uploading new photos, responding to Google reviews, writing weekly posts, and checking suggested updates. Google listing optimization takes experience and time, and there are no shortcuts. C-Crew gives your Google My Business account the steady, consistent attention it needs to be effective, optimizing, updating, and expanding critical content every single week. From local retail stores to large regional networks, C-Crew generates content, establishes benchmarks, and creates dramatic, measurable increases in engagement. So what can C-Crew do for your business? More calls, more clicks, more clients.
Congratulations to our members of the week. You can learn more about these businesses by following the Northern Kentucky Chamber on social media, where we highlight one of these businesses each day. Now, let's meet our members of the week. Perspectives Skills for Life is Northern Kentucky's newest center dedicated to supporting teens and young adults with developmental differences as they prepare for life beyond school. Orange Theory Fitness Hebron is a group fitness studio that blends cardio, strength, and coaching to help you burn fat and build muscle. Environment and Archaeology provides clients with a wide range of NEPA, natural resource, and cultural resource consulting services. Zen Business is an AI-powered platform that helps entrepreneurs start strong and stay compliant. In continuous operation since 1977, Living Magazines has been a consistent source of positive hyperlocal news and communities throughout the greater Cincinnati area.
Hi, I'm Nancy Spivey, Vice President of Talent Strategies with the Northern Kentucky Chamber of Commerce. I'm talking with David Noe today about DisruptHR. David, I know that's a very strange title. Number one, you're part of the HR 100 Planning Committee.
Yes.
And I know that involves planning a number of events. So Tell me a little bit about DisruptHR. What is that?
Yeah, so DisruptHR is about to celebrate their 12th anniversary in December. It started in Cincinnati and now has gone global to over 10,000 videos from events, and it's a much different vibe than your typical HR event. You have 14 speakers, 5 minutes each. Every slide changes every 15 seconds. So the attention span for people might be a little bit shorter than people that want to sit and listen to the same person for 45 minutes. So it really makes it a fun, interactive, high energy kind of event. And so we're thrilled to have an event coming up in July of 2026 in Northern Kentucky.
And why are we already talking about it if it's not till next July?
Well, there's a lot of planning involved. So we have the venue picked out at Northern Kentucky University, Griffin Hall, and we are taking submissions for people that want to be speaking at the event. So if you are interested in speaking at this event, if you've never attended one, you can go to DisruptHR and find all the cities, all the videos. That's one component, is that you have to record every presenter so that they have that video, and then you upload that so people that don't attend get to see what was talked about.
I know for me personally, I love TED Talks. I'm one of those people that love to get online and see innovation and see ideas pop. It sounds sort of like a TED Talk format, but my understanding is there's also a social hour or social couple hours or something mixed in. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so we're going to have a little bit of networking and happy hour beforehand. So the event goes from 4 to 7. So the first hour or so, we're going to have a happy hour, and people can check in, hang out with everybody, and then we'll start the speaking, and then have some time after to hang out and have another happy hour and get to know each other a little bit more, and it'll be a great event.
Well, and you and I and Mike Sipple, we're kind of organizing this together, so it's fun to have associates, chamber members actively involved in the planning this year. We had an opportunity to go out and tour Griffin Hall, and just for those who've never been, can you describe kind of that wow factor, why that is such a cool space?
Yeah, when you walk into the building, you just get a sense of color, vibrant environment, and so we're going to make it such a unique experience for people attending. And when you walk in, that's where the registration will be, the happy hour, and people can hang out. Then you go into the actual theater area where we're going to have seats in this setting, but also box seats. So we're going to be looking at getting groups of people, different companies and groups that want to bring their team members to this so that you can have a little bit of a different experience sitting with your colleagues or friends or clients in a box. We have 8 boxes to have, so more to come on that if you have any interest, but we're going to make it very fun, exciting, and the venue seems really good for the first event that we're going to have.
Now, do I need to be an HR professional to speak at this event?
No, I think the fun thing about this event, even though it's called Disrupt HR, I'd say 60% are in an HR function. So if you are in leadership, part of the culture, part of the HR team at your organization, or even if you just have an idea of how people can be inspired by your idea, I think these different concepts that have come out of these events really focus on such a wide variety of topics. So we're going to try that ourselves and make a very good blend of ideas and topics that we will bring out of this event. So again, storytelling, fast-paced. If you've ever presented before, this is much different by trying to get everything in 5 minutes. So if you've presented in front of a group of people, great. If you've presented and have talked for 45 minutes on a presentation, you got to find a way to do it in 5 minutes.
Yeah, and I love the idea of, because I'm one of those low attention span people, so I love the idea of teach us something but make it quick.
Yep.
Inspire us, get a message out there that talk about the human side of business. Let's talk about what it takes to keep people, to retain people, to make people happy and satisfied in their world of work. So
yeah, and if you just think of the last time you've been to an event and when you were really engaged in the topic, did you stay engaged in that topic for the whole time, or did you kind of lose interest after 5 or 10 minutes? And so I think with this concept and the way that we can have people get their point across in 5 minutes or less, it's going to be really exciting, and I cannot wait to have our first event in Northern Kentucky. And we connected with Jennifer, who founded it, Jennifer McClure. We talked to her and said, hey, we want to have a chapter of Disrupt in Northern Kentucky. What do you feel about that? And I was a little bit skeptical of what her response would be, but she was all for it. And she came to our happy hour last summer and spoke in front of our crowd that were at the happy hour at Dave & Buster's. And we kind of announced it then that we were going to have a new chapter so close to where it started in Cincinnati, right across the river. And so now we're going to have 2 events, potentially 2 events in 2026 within the greater Cincinnati area, in Cincinnati, which I'll be a part of that planning team as well. So we're trying to get that figured out as well, but it would be earlier in 2026. So every 6 months, people in the Cincinnati area will be able to come to a Disrupt HR event. If they can't make one, they can maybe try to go the other.
yeah, or go to both.
Or go to both.
Wouldn't hurt to go to both, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the Northern Kentucky event, my understanding from Jennifer McClure, the founder, is that we are now part of this community, and the community is over 170 communities globally in over 30 countries.
Yeah.
So to think about this type of format being that broad in our nation is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Individuals have until January 2nd to apply.
January 2nd.
And they can find out more on the Chamber's website on our events page.
Yep.
July 8th. Look up July 8th and get the detail. And yeah, we hope to see you there.
Absolutely.
Chris Knockelman with Schneller Knockelman Plumbing, Heating, and Air. It's spring now, but before you know it, our ACs are working overtime.
Dave, it's going to be warm soon.
Right now is a good time to get the AC serviced, right?
You can get your AC tuned up for only $59.
So get your $59 tune-up at
SKPHA.com. SKPHA. So if your plumbing and mechanical systems give you trouble, just remember our name. Schneller Knockelman.
Northern Kentucky needs tailored solutions to address our housing shortage. Home for All, Northern Kentucky Housing Strategies, explores how we can retain young adults, help older residents downsize or age in place, and ensure new neighbors have housing options that fit their lives. Dive into the report at housingNKY.org. Welcome back, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in to today's episode of the podcast. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about DisruptHR and all of the things happening in the talent strategy space here at the Chamber and around Northern Kentucky. If you are interested in applying to be a speaker for DisruptHR, please visit nkychamber.com/talent. And if you want to pre-register for any of those events that Nancy and I talked about in the intro, you can visit nkychamber.com/events. Thank you once again to our podcast sponsors, C-Crew, Google and Amazon advertising experts, and Schneller-Knockelman. Finally, if you are a member who would like to be featured on the podcast, or if you're someone who is interested in joining the Northern Kentucky Chamber of Commerce, please reach out to Lynn Ablin. And if you're a member who would like to share your workforce strategies and resources on our Talent Strategy Spotlight, please reach out to Nancy Spivey. You can find their contact information on the screen if you're a viewer, and our listeners can find that at nkychamber.com/staff at our staff directory. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll talk to you guys next week.